is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
They didn't have to have the greatest undefeated record, but they had to make a major impact on the sport of boxing, enough to be considered eligible to even be entered into the Talkin BillyCBoxing Hall of Fame. So to introduce first, the fighter that is getting introduced first, Sugar Ray Robinson, former world welterweight, middleweight champ. This guy had titles all across the board, and honestly, pound for pound, this guy actually might have been even greater than the greatest. The person who gets to present or receive the award on behalf of Mr. Robinson, Talkin Boxing with Billy C's own Dax Khan. Dax, come on up here, man. Say some words about.
You know, when I sat and talked with Billy about some of the post-inductees, and he was saying, you know, the ones that we were really looking for somebody to accept the speech for, he says, listen, these are your choices. The name Sugar Ray Robinson came up, and immediately in my head I said, how can it be any easier? We're talking about Sugar Ray Robinson. But then, you know, the more I thought about it and the more I went into it, I realized, you know something, this guy may be the most difficult person to speak about. Why? Because for so much of Ray's career, the best part of Sugar Ray Robinson took place when he was a welterweight. Unfortunately, there is no real footage of Ray when he was a welterweight, so we missed the very best of Ray. But when you look at Sugar Ray Robinson, it amazes you because the man can do everything. He had that aura that made you want to watch him. Ray came in, he had that $1 million smile, he had that little haircut in the front, always looked like in a good mood. Ray was on the ropes, Ray came off the ropes so quickly, his feet would move like nothing else. When you watch Ray move, even nowadays when you see it in slow motion, you're mesmerized just by the way it's just so easy and so effortless. At one point in time, somebody had said to Ali, and I believe it was Howard Cosell, and this is after Ali had beat Liston twice, and they said to him, Muhammad, how can you call yourself the greatest fighter of all time? Muhammad Ali looked at him and said, hold on one second. I never said, I'm not the greatest fighter of all time. I'm the greatest heavyweight of all time. The greatest fighter of all time is Sugar Ray Robinson. He said, I don't have the audacity to stand here and say I'm better than Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray is the man that really made me personally appreciate the art form of boxing. There's a reason why Ray Robinson sits upon almost every pound for pound list. I don't care whose it is, either number 1, number 2, or number 3. The only person usually you might see ahead of him is Homicide Hank, for obvious reasons. Ray Robinson is a treat. When I watch Ray Robinson in his fights, that lets me know and reminds me why I'm a boxing fan. It reminds me that boxing is not about going in the ring, watching two men punch each other to see who falls. The point of the matter is, Ray Robinson, hit, don't be hit. He knew every square part of that ring. He read his opponents. He picked out the flaws in his opponents. Everybody afterwards wants to copy Ray Robinson. Why? Because the things that Ray Robinson did is what every fighter aspires to be able to do. To this day, Ray Robinson still is, if not people feeling that he is the greatest fighter of all time to date, he still is the man that when you watch, you understand why boxing is an art form. Boxing isn't just about going in there and fighting. And from now until the day I die, I'm always going to appreciate every fight I've ever watched of Ray Robinson, because Ray could be sweet in the ring, just like the Monica Sugar was, but of course we also know, and we've seen a lot of his fights, Ray could be brutal and Ray could beat a man into submission. Ray Robinson, never duplicated, and if he ever is duplicated, I don't think it's going to be in our time. Thank you very much. Have a blessed night.
that's going to be presented by actually Alex. I call him Alex Pepperoni because I have a hard time with his last name, so that's easy for us all to remember. Alex Pierpaoli, or did I get close?
Pierpaoli.
Pierpaoli. See, I told you I'm better with pepperoni. But he's going to be the editor of the upcoming Billy C book that should be out in the near future. I don't want to give a time frame because I don't really have one. You can probably work on that. But he's also a huge integral part of the show, and he's actually a really good commentator as well. I've got to see some of his work. So, ladies and gentlemen, presenting the award and the entrance into the Talkin Boxing Billy C Hall of Fame to an Irishman, who I gotta respect being Irish, Tom Molyneux. Alex, come on up here and tell us about Tom Molyneux.
Well, this is a real big honor. This is one of the things that I really love about boxing is that there's so many guys that you can learn about that really their stories haven't been told. And that's been really, for me, the pleasure about working on this book with Billy C. is that Tom Molyneux is a great American champion that nobody's ever heard of. And hopefully when Billy C's book is done, that will change all that. But there's no doubt that he was a bare-knuckle champion. He was in the first world heavyweight title fight, and the only way it could have been a world heavyweight title is if he was the American champion facing Tom Cribb, the English champion. And I won't say too much, but he's a guy who you're going to really enjoy hearing his story. When the planet wasn't as big as it is now, he was probably, for a brief period, the baddest man on it. And Billy C's book is going to tell you all about that. So for Thomas Molyneux, thank you very much.
Man, this is a ridiculous record. 120 wins with only 8 losses, 9 draws, and 18 no decisions, which means he probably got ripped off about 27 times. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy was a great fighter. We had the opportunity to see some early footage of him earlier today. And up here to accept the award to Mr. Joe Gans will be his great nephew, Darren Gans. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise. Darren, and happy birthday.
Hey there, everybody. Just want to say I'm very honored to be part of this ceremony that celebrates many of the great fighters, not only Joe Gans, but other great champions of the sport. Start off with a story. I just want to share with you my first encounter with the legacy of Joe Gans. It was one Sunday afternoon. I was about 15 years old. And my dad took me to my Uncle Curtis's house, Uncle Curtis Gans, and we affectionately know him as Uncle Papa. He's kind of like the family activist, historian. So we get in his house, and I'm in the living room, and I'm going to use the word abducted. I don't remember walking to the dining room, but I ended up in the dining room, and they just like whisked me away into the dining room. And then I remember seeing an antique frame in this mantelpiece, and I remember it so vividly because it was antique, and it was a man standing in a pose. So they're crowding around me, and I'm trying to figure out what all the commotion is, and then all the stories begin to unfold. They begin to roll out about family accounts of my great-grandfather Henry Gans, how he would talk about the exploits of Joe Gans in the ring, and he would pass down the stories to my grandfather, Mr. Henry Gans Jr., and he would almost be in tears as he sat the family down and tried to instill in them what Joe Gans did in the ring and his contributions to the sport. I can imagine he would be in tears because he didn't want us to forget. He wanted us to be proud to carry the Gans name and just what it meant to be a Gans. And I can imagine if Joe Gans was physically present here, he would want to thank God for the given ability to be able to combine skill, intellect, and just all of the things that he brought to the sport, the jab, footwork, I think he would want to thank people like Mr. Billy C for creating this program today, this ceremony. I'm proud of. People want to thank people like Ms. Colleen Aycock and Mr. Mark Scott that did a biography on his life. People want to thank a lot of the historians and sports writers, a lot of the fight fans in general. People probably want to also thank the city of Philadelphia, the city of Baltimore for giving him his humble beginnings. A lot of things can be said about Joe Gaines, what he meant to boxing, his contributions. You know, he was a warrior in the ring, and this one I like the most. One writer compared him to a war general in the ring, and that says a lot about his discipline and what he brought to the sport and how he trained. He was graceful in the ring. Like I said before, he was a champion that, and he shares a distinct quality with that because he was the first African American champion in any sport, and I think that's a great accomplishment. Like I said before, he's just, you know, what he's done for boxing is just tremendous. Just being a warrior, being graceful, and out of all those great things, he was a gentleman. And more beyond that, he was humble, as I am humble. So on behalf of the Gaines family, to Mr. Billy C, to the boxing community, I humbly say thank you.
One of the guys that was very influential in doing this whole thing was a good friend of mine, Billy Costello. He's no longer with us, and we had both had fully intended him to be here and be part of this. He was influential in a sense where he wanted the inductees to have a say. So these guys are going to be voting next year for who's going to be in and everything else. I just want to give his brother, Vinny Costello, who's here, a couple of minutes to just, you know, give some reflection on Billy Costello. I personally was touched by him. He was a warrior in the ring. He never stopped fighting throughout his whole life, and if you could give him a couple minutes, I'd appreciate it.
First of all, I'd like to give to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ all the thanks for allowing me. For my brother Billy, he was a champion in the ring and out of the ring. His love was baseball. That was his love. But early in his life, he got in a little problem, and so he was derailed. Somehow he ended up turning to boxing. He wasn't the most gifted kid, but he worked hard. He trained hard. As my town, they wasn't that much behind him, but he worked hard. Eventually, after 2 years, he won the New York Golden Glove. After that, he went on. He turned pro in 1980. 6 years later from there, became the WBC junior welterweight champ of the world. He loved Bill. Always said we fought this cancer. Shit fought this thing for 55 years old. He left this world too soon. I mean, he loved boxing, but his main thing was that being a judge. He wanted to give all the fighters the right opportunity because I believe out here, a lot of people shouldn't be judges. They have never done this game or been in this game and know what it's all about. They shouldn't be judged because some people judge these fights unfair for these guys. These guys struggle, they work hard to get where they are, to take from them for what they're working for. Because somebody got a better name, it's sad. And I think that's just wrong. Thank you very much.
And the stories that I've heard are absolutely phenomenal. 178, 31, and 40 was his record. Again, 40 draws. I mean, there must have been a lot of people that didn't like some of these fighters. This guy was considered a pound for pound all-time great, pretty much across the board by all boxing historians. And the gentleman who's going to come up here, actually there's two people that are going to come up here and accept this award. The gentleman, Mr. Clay Moyle, he wrote a phenomenal book. This is a bestseller. It is a well-known book in the boxing community. As well, if I can have Carol Doyle come up here. And I'll let Clay do the formal introductions for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the induction of Mr. Sam Langford.
Well, Billy called me over the summer and told me about this event and asked me if I'd say a few words about Sam. And of course, I was very honored at the idea of being able to talk a little bit about him. And at the same time, I thought, well, I can't turn this down. This is going to be the only chance any Boxing Hall of Fame is ever going to want me to get up and say anything. You know, my own experience with boxing was as a 32-year-old going to a gym for a year, and the fellow that operated that gym used to tell me that if he ever got me a fight, he was going to sell advertising on the soles of my shoes. Sam was just a tremendous fighter. You know, he's in my book. There's no doubt that he was one of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the history of boxing. And if it wasn't for the time that he lived in, I have no doubt that he would have won as many as 4, if not 5, different world titles at a time when there truly were only 8 divisions. You know, so the guy was just a phenomenal fighter. He started out his career as a lightweight, and when he was 17 years old, he fought and defeated the great Joe Gans, which is obviously a phenomenal accomplishment. But he did not capture that title because he was a couple pounds over the weight limit. He was 17 years old. A year later, he fought Barbados Joe Walcott, the reigning welterweight champion, and that was called the rule to draw in a fight that most at ringside felt that Sam clearly won. You know, and after that, despite being the leading contender for a number of years, he never did get a chance to fight for a world title as either a middleweight, light heavyweight, or a heavyweight. He was forced to go to other countries to get bouts in many cases. At one point or another, off and on, he was the colored heavyweight champion of the world. He was a heavyweight champion of countries such as England, France, Canada, Mexico. By the time he was, he would have been 18 or 19 years old, he moved up into the middleweight division in 1905. While still only a middleweight, he began fighting heavyweights. He fought Joe Jeanette that year. He lost to him the first time that he faced him, but he beat him the second time around. And over the next 10 years, 15 years, he was fighting guys that in a lot of cases were 10 to 12 inches taller than him, sometimes outweighed him by 30 to 40 pounds. And he not only beat a lot of these heavyweights, but more often than not, he knocked a great many of them out. So a lot of these heavyweights, guys like Gunboat Smith, Joe Jeanette, men who fought the likes of Jack Johnson and Jack Dempsey, said that Sam was not only the greatest that they ever fought, but that he was the hardest hitter they ever fought as well. He fought the last 1/3 of his career blind in one eye and with some deteriorating sight in the remaining. The other thing that impressed me and really caused me to fall in love with this guy was the type of individual he was. He had an incredibly positive outlook. Despite the fact that he was denied all of his opportunities, he was a very witty individual. He was always looking on the positive side of life and chose to view the glass as half full. When he retired from the ring, by the time in the late 1920s, he was already blind. But he would go to a local gym and sit and listen to the guys work out and just to be around the game still. There was a pretty good heavyweight at that time named Larry Gaines, and Larry walked over to Sam where he was sitting up against the wall one day and stuck a $10 bill in Sam's breast pocket. And Sam felt and put that in his pocket and said, well, asked him what it was. And Larry said, well, that's just a $10 bill for you, Sam, to buy yourself something to drink later on this evening. Well, Sam was a very proud man. He said to Larry, well, Larry, I don't take anything for nothing. Let me earn it. So Larry said, well,
"Oh, okay, Sam, well, how do you want to earn it? What do you want to do?" Sam said, "Well, tell me who you're fighting. Tell me who you're going to fight, and I'll tell you how to beat him." So Larry told him he was there to fight a fellow named Big Boy Peterson. And Sam started nodding his head and kind of pursed his lips, and he was giving it a lot of thought. And finally, he asked Larry to come forward, and he whispered to him, "I'll tell you how to beat this fellow, Larry. Hit him, but don't let him hit you." So, with me here today is Carol Doyle. Carol is Sam's great-granddaughter, and this is Sam's great-great-great-grandson. And I know she wants to say a few words about her great-grandfather, and they're justifiably very proud of her man.
Indeed, I do. I want to thank Billy C. for this wonderful award, Clay Natry for this great book. He answered a lot of questions for me as a little girl, because at this age, Sam Langford he came by my grandmother's house and sat by the table next to the sink, and I would just wonder, who was this big man? Who was this man? He filled the room for me. He sucked the air out of the room. Broad shoulders, bald head, dark glasses, and cane. I spent hours looking at him but could not make the connection of who this man was. And as I grew, I began to understand. And then Clay Moyle came into my life and said, here he is. This is the man. All my questions was answered. As in the preface of the book, only a few feet away from me, from this very timid little girl, sat one of the greatest boxers that ever entered the ring, Samuel Langford, my great-grandfather, the Boston Tar Baby, and this is my grandson, and he will also know who this man is. And what do you say?
Thank you.
Okay.
Our next person that we're going to be inducting into the Talkin Boxing with Billy C. Hall of Fame is a guy that I got to watch a little bit when I was younger. Everybody knows this guy by his nickname. Really, I can say on a personal level about John Scully is this guy has a following like almost no other boxer that's around today, or former fighter that's around today. He's very accessible to the fans. You can catch him on all kinds of different boxing forums like I have. You can like him on Facebook, and he's on there every day talking to anybody. You can tell these people don't know him. They're like, "What is this guy?" And next thing you know, boom, there pops up John Scully. It's not like, you know, he's just on Twitter thing. He'll literally sit down and take the time with anybody. So when I say giving back to the sport, if you want to compare to a man like John Scully, the Iceman, the bar set. And definitely was a top contender for a very long time in the light heavyweight division. He had a record of 38-11 with 21 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you, being inducted to the Talkin Boxing with Billy C. Hall of Fame, the man himself, the Iceman, John Scully.
Thank you, man. Thanks so much. Very welcome. Obviously, I appreciate this a great deal. When I started boxing in 1982, I started watching boxing in 1975. My first memory of even knowing about boxing was back in 1975, and the only reason I know the date is just because of what it entails. My brother and I arguing in the basement over a iron-on decal that was in the Sunday paper. And I remember it was a butterfly and a bee, and it was an advertisement for the Thrill in Manila. So I know that was 1975, so I know that I was 8 years old. And my brother was 13, so he got to get it and I didn't. But I just remember thinking that anyone other than Superman and Snoopy that had an iron-on decal must be somebody just, you know, really important. So I started getting into Muhammad Ali and following Muhammad Ali. And so from there, I started boxing. It's especially honorable for me to be inducted in this class with Mr. Ernie Shavers here, because that was, Ali and Shavers was actually one of the very first, probably one of the first 3 fights that I've ever watched in my life, along with Ali and Spinks. So meeting and being with Ernie Shavers and Marlon Starling adds to the specialness of this. And I still box. I still spar quite a bit. I sparred 18 rounds the other day with 2 of my boxers in the gym. So I still consider myself a boxer, even though I haven't fought in 10 years. So I started boxing 30 years ago this coming March. And the reason I got into it was not to become a professional, not to be any of those things. I just wanted to be known. I wanted to box because I wanted to be in the newspaper, and I wanted people to know who I was. I treated all my fights like Muhammad Ali fights. To be honest with you, I would fight guys, and I fought on television in 1995. I had already had about 34 pro fights, and I fought a guy named Willie Ball at Foxwoods Casino, sold out. It must have been however many thousands of people were there. And I always say Willie Ball would probably be either irritated because I knocked him out in the second round, or amused or whatever, but the whole time I was thinking of fighting him, I was picturing that I was Ali and he was Ron Lau, because he looked kind of like Ron Lau. So that's the type of imagination I had, and I started that as a kid. If I fought a short Spanish guy, he was Roberto Duran. And if I fought a fast black guy, Sugar Ray. I fought a guy, George Shilley. I'll never forget this. I was scared to death of this man. I was 16 years old and he was 23. And this is why I advocate boxing for kids. And I'll tell you a quick story on why. I was 16 years old. It was my second fight. Technically my third fight ever. I get to the arena, and back then they didn't pre-match the fights. Like there would be you'd walk into an arena and there'd be a long line of fighters, 50 guys, and everybody would weigh in. And then from there they would make the fight. See, now they pre-match them. So when you get there, 2 weeks in advance who you're fighting. But back then you didn't know till that day, till that minute. So we get there and the line, I'm 16 years old, it's only my second fight, the line is long. And we walk in and there was this guy so physically impressive that my eyes went right to him. He was the biggest man my size I'd ever seen. Bald head, the whole night, just huge. And I remember to describe him, he had Herschel Walker legs. And if you know who Herschel Walker is, you know what his legs look like. Well, this guy had his legs and just bowling ball arms. And I remember specifically saying to myself, I'm glad I'm not going to fight that guy. So we go in, I get in line, I'm at the end of the line, I weigh in. I weigh 152 pounds exactly. There's only one other guy in that whole line that weighed 152 pounds. Who do you think that was? So I'm going, this is crazy. There's no way I'm fighting this guy. Like, and he's 20. I found out he was 23 years old, and I'm 16. There's a big difference when you're 16 and 23-year-old. That guy, he has a mustache and kids. And he has a job. That's an old guy. So I remember, and I had this little old trainer. For better or worse, he was just oblivious. Like, we get there, and I'm in line, and I hear the guy, and he's telling the story. He's telling some guy next to me, and he's going, I don't care who I fight. He goes, I run 7 miles a day. I'm knocking everybody out in the gym. I'm this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, this guy's crazy. And I'm saying, man. So I get to the guy, to the doctor finally, and he goes, how you feeling? And usually that's just a standard question. You're supposed to say, hey, like if I ask you, hey, how you been? You go, oh, good, So I go, hey, he goes, how you feeling? I go, well, I kind of got a headache. And so my trainer, he goes, yeah, my trainer goes, oh, he's fine. I go, well, it really hurts. I want him to say, oh, medically, I can't allow you to fight. So, but my trainer kept talking him into it. My trainer kept telling him I'm okay. So I go, okay, here we go. So I realized I have to fight. So I went downstairs. I never forget it. It was at the Danbury, Connecticut Elks. And I went downstairs and I just stood in the corner and I said, okay. I said, I'm going to get killed tonight. I said, but you know what? I'm going to be a man. I just want to be a man. I can't go out just a punk. So I said, I'm going to fight. I'm killed, but I'm going to fight. So I go upstairs and I felt better. Once I made up my mind, I felt better. My second fight ever. I go, the fight starts. 20 seconds in, I guess I closed my eyes, and I threw a punch, and then stood back up, my eyes came back open, and I literally, it's like a cartoon. I'm going, where'd he go? Where'd he go? And the guy was on the floor, right? And I couldn't believe it. I didn't know where to go, and I'm looking at the ref, and he's telling me to go to the neutral corner, and I went to the wrong corner, and he goes, no, that neutral corner. So I go over there, I'm waiting, and I'm going, please don't get up, please don't get up, please don't get up. And he got up, and he was wobbly, and the ref stopped the fight. Wow. Stopped him on the first round. Couldn't believe it. So listen, so I go, and in the Elks Club, they had a big, like a rafter, you know, bleacher seats way up high. And there were some people up there, so I walked up and I had a coat on. And I remember I walked up like I was Clint Eastwood. You know, like, I never forget it. It's so stupid. It's stupid, the stuff you do as a kid. But I just felt like anybody here, Bucci, Ernie Shavers, obviously, you know, when you knock someone out, no matter who it is, that's an amazing feeling. Like you feel like you're the baddest. I don't know if any of you box, but when you knock someone out in the box, I don't know who it is, you feel like you're the baddest guy on the planet. And that's what I felt. And I'm walking through like I'm in a movie, and like, who's gonna mess with me? You know, and I sat down, and never forget, I put my feet up on a chair in front of me, like I was Fonzie or something. And I'm just like in my mind, I'm like, who's gonna tell me? I just knocked this guy out, who's gonna tell me to move? But so anyway, you know, I've done a few things in boxing. I fought for the world title in 1996. I fought Michael Nunn, a pretty good fight on TV years ago. I do some broadcasting for ESPN and that type of thing. But I'll tell you, when I started boxing, I just wanted to be like Muhammad Ali. I used to literally, I'm writing a book about my career, and I include these in it. I used to write poems. Like Ali wrote poems about different fighters. I wrote poems. They were pretty good. Some of mine were actually pretty good. So I wanted to be like Ali. So I created my whole career. I would be in the shower the night before the fight, and I'd be like, I mean, you know, it's silly, but I had a shampoo bottle, and I'd go, John, tomorrow's the big fight, how do you feel? And I'd do the interview, I'd do the whole, I mean, I'd go through the whole situation. I made boxing fun, and I still do that, to this day, to this minute. But I'll tell you, part of it was predicting fights, and I would predict fights, and I would say, I'm going to beat this guy like Ali used to predict the fights, and I'm going to beat this guy in the third round. So I'll tell you the funny thing, years ago, I used to have this girl, I had a crush on her, I guess. In 6th grade, yeah, I had a crush on the guy for the first time. So, I started boxing in '82. So I guess it would either be the summer of '82 or the summer of '83. I'm not sure of my timeline, but either the first summer I started boxing or the second, before I had a fight. I know that much. In school, I didn't really talk to her that much. I was kind of scared of her. She was like the prettiest girl in school, and I didn't, you know. But on the phone at night, I would talk to her, and it was just different. That's how I was. Like I was real brave on the phone. And then the next day, I'd dummy up. It was like I didn't have a word to say. So in school, she probably, you know, I didn't say a word to her ever. But at night, I'm talking all kinds of trash and just being like Ali. And I actually heard that on Ali that in private he was real shy, but in public he was brash. I was the opposite. In public, I would be real calm and cool, but in private, I'd talk all kinds of stuff. So I used to tell this girl, I was only 14 or 15 at the time, and I used to tell her that one day her and I were going to get married and that we were going to have a baby together. Now that's, you know, I'm 14, you know, but I was planning it, I guess. And so all these years later, now here it is, that was you're talking, next year will be 30 years ago that I said that. So that would make it, let me make sure I get the math right, 22 years after I said that, my daughter was born by that girl. And she's sitting right back there. So, if nothing else, I did, at least one of my boxing predictions came true. So I did all right, so I'm happy. So I appreciate you having me here and listening to my stories, and I appreciate you thinking enough for me to induct me. Thank you very much. I appreciate the night.
Now this one, if there was a man in boxing to fear, this is the guy that you probably would be a wise man to fear. Record 75 wins. I'm not going to steal one of your wins because I don't want you to show me that you were 75. With 69 knockouts. A knockout percentage that is absolutely ridiculous by all standards. Only 14 losses with 1 draw. The guy is an absolute legend when it comes to boxing. He's a former world title challenger. And this guy was at the top of the game when the top of the game was the all-time best top of the game. That's when the heavyweight division really was the king of boxing. And ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to be inducted into the Talkin Boxing with Billy C, a man named called both the Acorn and the Black Destroyer. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise, Ernie Shavers.
It's an honor for me to receive this award. I started boxing back in '67. When I started first, I went to the gym. All my friends, Ernie, you're not gonna make it. You're too small. Big guy gonna hurt you. I said, nobody can do anything to me. I won the national AU in '69, turned pro shortly after. They sent me up here in New York to train in Pierce training camp. As an amateur, I was to train with the pros. I went to the national AU, knocked everybody out. And 4 fights, 4 knockouts. I turned pro shortly after there, and I had a good career, very, very good career, but a lot of hard work, dedicated, sacrifice, and hard work. I thank God for the people put in my life to allow me to receive this award now in the fight game. I had like, say, 89 fights in my career. I fought for the title twice in Ollie and Larry home, but unfortunately I didn't beat him, but I gave him a lot of hell. And we're good friends today. The fight game has been fantastic for my family and I. Opened a lot of doors. I got a 7-figure contract working on now. I'll probably close in January. So you'll probably see me on TV soon like George Foreman. That deal almost closed now. I want to thank you for inviting me up here for this award. Have any question, please ask me now, because when I sit down, I will not ask one question under $50. I thank God for the fight game because it opened a lot of doors for my family and I. I'm the father of 9 daughters and 1 son, and you all can box. Anyway, the fight game today has been really great to me and my family. It's been opened a lot of doors for me all around the world. So I travel all over the world today. Today I still travel around the world. My schedule is booked solid almost every year for the next 5 years. I'm on the road a lot. I spend a lot of time in Europe. A lot of work in YouTube. I do a lot of work in Europe, and God has really blessed me. I'll be retired from the fight game. I'm making more money now than I made in the fight game because the blessing God has lived on my life. It's been really good. Any questions? Feel free to ask them.
What do you think of the Klitschko's?
What do you think of Klitschko? I wish they were around when I was around. When guys, I threw a long jab, sit beside, boom, boom, and go home. If he didn't fall, he will. Yeah, I like Klitschko. I met the Klitschko. I was over there to be the award there last year too, and I met him. But I mean, I would love to have fought those guys because they're big and long armed. I like the tall guys. Short guys give me trouble. Big guys, no problem.
Who was your toughest opponent?
My toughest opponent was a guy named Boyd Tago Williams out of Philadelphia. When I first turned pro, I heard about the Philadelphia fighters. Those guys are tougher. So he called me and wanted me to fight him in Philadelphia. I think after I turned pro, shortly after, he offered me I'm getting X amount of dollars to come to Philadelphia. I said, well, I will not fight him in Philly, but if I knock him out, it'll be called a draw. 6 months later, they offered me $100,000 to fight him in Las Vegas. I fought him in Las Vegas. It was a war. I knocked him out in the 10th round, and took off in there. My career took off in there. This guy was about 235, 6'4", could fight. Tough man. It was a war for 10 rounds. And at the last 30 seconds, I stepped aside, bam, left hook, bam, knocked him out.
Right here, Ernie. Who was the hardest puncher that you faced, in your opinion?
What was the hardest puncher I faced? A guy named Ron Lau of Denver, Colorado. Ron Lau could punch. I was chosen #1, George Foreman #2, he's #3. He's a very good puncher.
Did he nail you really good? Or
huh?
Did he nail you really good during the fight?
Oh, he nailed me. He's real good. I feel so. Ron and I, we're very good friends. I talk to him about once a week. We call each other. and do a few things with it.
You and Joe Frazier are the same age. Did they ever talk about you guys fighting?
Joe Frazier would not fight me. Joe's a good man, but I would destroy him like George Foreman did. I punch you hard. Joe, you cannot come to a puncher and not get killed. I know that look here, Joe offered 3 contracts, he never accepted one. And Joe told me, you got too much firepower for me. We all just, so it never came off. So. Been no problem for me, but I punch you hard.
All right. What's your proudest moment in boxing?
My proudest moment in boxing has to be when I knocked out Ken Norton. Ken Norton be a young friend of mine, Randy Stevens, was just turned pro 6 months in his 40s. He knocked him out in the first round. We're from the same community, small farm community. I said, Randy, do you want me to get even for you? He said, yes. So I called Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes had just beat Ken Norton for the title. Larry, I need a favor. And Larry said, I don't want to fight Ken again, it's too tough for me. I said, Larry, make Ken fight me before he fight you, you'll never see him again. Larry called Ken and said, Ken, do you want to return match? It was a fight that for Ken, do you want to return match? She said, yes. You said, you got to beat Ernie Shavers. The phone went dead. So Tom said, yes. And when we put the fight together, Don King, Ken Norton, I was out in Las Vegas. So I learned very late, being a puncher, you put the fear of God in 99% of my opponents. I looked at Ken, I said, Ken, I'm going to destroy you. Ernie, we both make a lot of money. I said, Ken, I'm the only guy who know about it. You just won the fight. I already need nothing. So I knocked him out in the first round. I think by the end of the first round, knocked him out.
All right. A lot of people debate where Larry Holmes' place is in history as a heavyweight champion. You fought him twice. What do you think of Larry Holmes?
Larry Holmes is a great champ. Got the best jab I ever seen. Always in your face. Larry jabbed like a right hand. Larry just underrated because he fought too close behind Muhammad. Larry was a great fighter. All these jabs couldn't compare with Larry. Larry was a good fighter, very good fighter.
Any advice for up-and-coming fighters, boxers?
Go to school. No. But I tell fighters, you have to eat, sleep, and live it 24 hours a day. If you're not willing to pay the price, leave it alone, because you will get hurt. When I turned pro, when I started boxing, that's all I did. I stayed in bed. See, I would go to bed every night about 9:30. I'd be up 5:30 in the morning on the road, run 5-6 miles, back home, take me a shower, no, I'm taking a shower then, wash off, lay down about 9, have breakfast, take a 2-mile walk, come back home, lay back down again about noon, get up, have a small snack or something, take another walk, something, have lunch around, have dinner around, 6 o'clock early in the evening, take a 2-mile walk, and be in bed by 9:30. That's the way my life was the first 2 out of 3 years. I'm in perfect health, there's nothing wrong with me, but I live, Archie Moore and Sugar Ray Robinson both told me how to do it. I did exactly what they said to do. My life is perfect now. I'm in good health, no bruises, no sore knee, no sore hand, no sore nothing. I did exactly what they said to do, and it worked for me. After each fight, I'll soak in a tub of Epsom and vinegar, pull all the swimming right out of you. Get warm water up, lay it about half an hour, take everything right out of you. And it worked.
What era since your retirement have you looked at and watched and ever said to yourself, I wish right now was my prime because you know what? This whole division would just belong to me and I would have just cleaned it up with no effort.
But can I tell you something? Never liked boxing, still don't like boxing, don't watch boxing.
Really?
I'm just not a fighting fan. I got into it because at the age of 12, I made my mind I would become an athlete. I thought it was going to be football. Trained in boxing at age 22. A friend of mine tried to recruit me for a local trainer. He kept bugging me about going to the gym. It was January 3rd, 1967. I walked in the gym. The trainer told me, he said, oh my God, a heavyweight, you champion of the world, make lots of money. I said, huh? I went home, begged my wife for a week. Finally, she said, I don't care, get out of here. So I went back to the gym, started training on the 10th. Had my first fight on the 17th. He said, Ernie, he said, what you do now? He told me my stance. He said, put your foot there and right here, you're going to ball your feet. He said, when the ball your feet said, your jab hand should be like this. It's the way you punch Ernie, you hide it right here behind the jab, no one gonna stand up. So my first fight, I threw a jab right hand, boom, knocked him out. He said, keep doing it. I
Ernie, you told me on an interview once about what went through your mind when you fought Larry Holmes and you almost killed him when he was laying on the ground. Tell everybody about that.
Well, Larry was a good friend of mine. I hired Larry when he was 17 years old. I knew then Don King, this guy will be champion of the world someday. Perfect left hand. Hit Larry over here, right? Larry went down. And I said, oh man, I'm champion of the world. And I seen his eyebrow move. Oh shit. It's gonna be a long night. Larry got up and he took care of business. Well, Larry and I, we're very good friends today. Larry's Ernie. The right hand was found in the gym with you. My jaw is still messed up when you mess up in the gym. But Larry is a good guy, Larry's a good fighter, and we're very good friends, always gonna be friends. And I'm every year, Larry invites me up for his birthday, and we get together once or twice a year. I'm working all year every year, and Larry home every year. I'm the only guy Ali work with. I'm the only guy he invites to his parties. I'm the only guy, Ali said, his wife said, you the only guy he likes, Ernie. But see, I do not say anything bad about any other fighter. I don't care who I'm with. When them guys talk about so-and-so, I don't hear a word. What they say stays there. When Larry Holmes talk about this guy, that guy, I don't say a word. When all these people, this guy, I don't say a word. I don't know nothing about it. I don't hear it. So they know me. When I go anywhere for another fighter, there will be no doctor about them. I would not say anything bad about any other fighter. Especially guys I grew up with and fought in my career, Larry Holmes and all these, and all these guys. And Jimmy Ellis and that stuff. But I'm not saying anything bad about anyone. They're not, I'm not gonna do it. Anyway, when I first came to New York '73, I bought Don King and my co-manager, Don King took over from there. So I would never say anything bad about Don. Don and Miss King was good to me. They took care of me. When I retired from the fight game, they started me out at $3,000 a week as camp director. Cash every Friday. I got $3,000 up to $4,000 for tips and bonuses. And we're still good friends today. If I need anything, I call Miss King when she was living. I need $15,000. She said, what kind of deal you want? That's what she was. It was really good to me, so I have nothing bad about anything. Any other questions? Huh? You can box? I'm gonna leave you alone, man. That's good. We're starting at 8. Is this last question? Is it? Okay, thank you very much.
This man is a former two-time world welterweight champion. Record 45 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw. They called him the Magic Man. We had him up on the screen earlier today. And Billy C was schooling me a little bit about this guy earlier on. And he said, straight up, John, out of 6 losses this guy had in his career, he probably should have only had 1. And then I had the privilege of watching this man come into the ring, watching Billy C repeat that, and this guy to pick out the fighter that Billy C called. So I think there might be a little bit of truth to that. Regardless, he's here today. We're going to let him talk to himself a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, huge round of applause. Make some noise. Marlon, the Magic Man Starling.
I mean, how many people in one state can get a Billy C award? Me and my fellow Connecticut guy, John Scully. Hey, we did it, John. I had a beautiful boxing career. Boxing been good to me. Boxing took me all over the world. When I decided to stop fighting amateurs, I said to myself, before I hang the gloves up, let me turn pro and see what I can do. My goal My goal in boxing wasn't to be the WBC champion or the WBA champion. My goal in boxing in the welterweight class, my goal was to be the best welterweight on the planet. And February 4th, 1989, the people all over the world, my peers, the old, the young, I said, look at that guy Marlon Starling, that's the best welterweight on the planet. And at that time in my career, I felt like saying, my career was over. I didn't get into this game for the money, like I said. I didn't get into this game to show that I could do it all. I got into this game for one thing, and that was to be the best welterweight on the planet. I fought a lot of undefeated. I fought on network television more than any other fighter in the world during the 80s, and I wasn't the champion. I fought back then when we could watch a world championship fight for free. Back in 81, 82, 83, 84, 85. I fought every year on network television during the 80s. After my last fight, which was a close fight, and at that point in my career, one of my handlers said to me, Marlon, do you want us to fight the decision? At that point in my life, I felt I'm finished. You know, I did everything I can do in boxing. One thing you can't do is beat Father Time. The reason why I got out of it, too many of my friends started being champions. So I said that you know, it was time to leave. I mean, money-wise, John, you know, if I was 20 years younger, most of these guys out there today, and I'm not crapping on the fighters out there today, most of these guys out there today, I say to myself right now, if I was to train for another year, I could be a champion tomorrow. Because with the skill I have, and you know, like I said, my game was hit and don't get hit. I was a fighter that I didn't like fighting wars. I mean, like I said, my game was to try to be the best. And like I said, when I fought in 1987, I fought an undefeated Mark Breland, Olympic champion. He haven't lost a fight in 6 years. And I knew from my status that I could beat Mark Breland. I knew that I was supposed to beat Mark Breland. And I said to myself in that fight, if I'm behind after the 12th round, I was going to gamble. And I was a fighter that, you know, I didn't gamble. I didn't like getting hit. The good Lord pulled me through that fight because I backed Mark Breland up with a body shot. And I threw an uppercut, which the uppercut missed him. It came right down into a hook. And at that time told the world that this guy is something to reckon with. But you know, the world wasn't satisfied because I didn't fight Lloyd Huntington. And Lloyd Huntington was one of the guys that on February 4th, 1984, I fought Donald Curry. And at that time, Donald Curry was one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. I fought Donald Curry in 1984 for the IBF and the WBA championship. It was a good fight. My coach, my manager told me, gotta back Donald Curry up. Because the first time I was stronger than Donald Curry, and I had him running all over the ring. So my trainer told me, you gotta back Donald Curry up, back Donald Curry up. You know why I didn't back Donald Curry up that day? Because I couldn't back Donald Curry up. He wasn't backing up. And that fight, I hit Donald Curry when nobody in the world beat me that day, but Donald Curry. And after that fight, I got out of the ring and said, you know, that guy beat me. And that was a mouthful. I had to take that. And then I got blessed to fight Mark Breland in Columbia, South Carolina. Everybody talking about Mark Breland's right hand. He was knocking guys out in the limits with that right hand. When I fought Mark Breland that day, Mark Breland had a jab that hurt like most guys' right hand. Mark Breland hit me so hard in that first fight, I heard the commentator say, ooh. And I had my trainer told me, Marlon, you're too strong for him, you're too strong for him. And that 11th round I hit him with a good body shot. He backed up, and I caught him on the rope, and hit him with a hook that put him down. After that fight, like I said, people still wasn't sure about me being the best in the world. So I had to fight Lloyd Huntington, an English guy who beat Donald Curry, who had beat me. I knew at that time, I was saying for a while, that I'm the best welterweight in the world. Nobody believed it. I fought Lloyd Huntington February 4th, 1989. He was supposed to be a hellraiser. I told people before that fight, by the middle of the fight, that guy's gonna want to be my friend. And believe me, in that fight, by the middle of the fight, he started trying to be my friend. After that fight, when I beat Lloyd Huntington that day, believe it or not, after I beat Huntington that day, my career was over because I did everything I wanted to do in boxing. And it was time for me to get out. But through my ups and downs of boxing, I met some beautiful people.
I remember watching
like you fans in here. I mean, you guys supported me, and I bless and I thank all you guys for following my career. And I want to thank Billy C for putting me into this hall. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody for coming. What we tried to do here is lay the groundwork for something that we want to build on. And I think we accomplished that today. Keep it in your minds because we're going to do it again. And I'm glad that all these fighters that are here, they're going to be part of our committee. They're going to help us elect the rest of the people that come on. Thank you very much. Have a drink. Thank you.